All right, so what I want to discuss, these are 5, I guess you'd call them bad movies. You'd call them guilty pleasures. I think you'd call them guilty pleasures, where they were either movies, they're all dated, but they were older movies that I just happen to love. I think they were classics for my upbringing. And kicking off the list, we're going to go with Swimming with Sharks. Now, this movie, and this is how I've always described it, is basically Entourage the show before the show ever came out. Kevin Spacey plays a character very similar to Ari Gold. He's a big producer at a film studio, and the story kind of bops between him at that office role with a new employee, and it kind of goes through 2-3 years of the relationship between them two. And then it bops between the employee who's got him kidnapped in his own house, holding a gun to his head, tortures him, all that jazz. And the movie it's really poor. Now, I watched it recently, and I was watching it with somebody that had never seen it before, and they were like, this is a really bad movie. And I think I liked it so much just from the timing when I watched it. I wasn't really, my focus really wasn't on good filmmaking. My focus was just kind of on the humor, because he's a very humorous character, almost like Ari Gold. He's a very funny character. The way he, treats other people is obviously terrible, but it's in the comedy community, it's quite funny. So, Swimming with Sharks, I put that up there as a big number 5. Number 4, we're going with the Stallone classic, Cobra. And this one I've watched so many times, and it's so terrible. And he's got like the shitty 90s, 80s one-liners, You're the virus and the cure. Just terrible Stallone at his best. Marion Cobretti. So Cobra was obviously a classic. This is odd. Looks like train tracks. So yes, Cobra was a classic. The guy at the end, the bad guy with his big old jaw. I don't remember what else he was in. He's been in a bunch of shit though, and he's always made me laugh. He's I want your eyes, Peg. I want them. Wanna go to hell? He was terrible, but again, classic. So yeah, I think that would round off my my number 4 spot. Number 3, old BMX movie. It was from like 88 or 89. It's called Rad with Carew Jones. COVID. I think the only, I don't even know big name was that woman Lori Lohan, not Lindsay Lohan, the one who's, daughter was cheating in college or whatever, who's in the news constantly now. She was Aunt Becky. She was in it. She was like the love interest. This is probably like pre-Full House. She was in it. Carew Jones was a no-name actor. His mom in the movie was actually Adrian from Rocky, so she was in it. A couple other people, but nobody really famous. But yeah, it was a bad biking movie with classic hits like Break the Ice and Thunder in Your Heart, and that genre just had the best music for movies. No music was better than like the old Rocky movies and Rad. So yeah, I'm gonna put that up as a solid number 3 spot, well deserved. Numero dos. Now this one, not a lot of people that I know have seen it, but whoever has seen it says it's the funniest movie they've ever seen. But it's called Clifford. Clifford is about Martin Short, who plays like a 12-year-old, even though he's like 30 at the time. And his dad's, it starts off, he's on like a business trip with his family. His dad is, him, and he ends up wanting to go to Dinosaur World. He's obsessed with Dinosaur World, which is in LA, and he's from Chicago, I think. And his Uncle Martin, who's the dad from Beethoven, he's in it. And Clifford ends up like getting the plane landed, for an emergency, and then he goes to stay with his Uncle Martin for a couple days. And it's so funny. He's such a shit kid. It's the definition of shit kid. He's such an antagonist the whole movie. Protagonist, he's a fucking antagonizer the whole movie, and you just can't help but fucking crack up. It's probably one of the funniest movies of, you know, that era, and it just never made it. You know, it was never a big movie, but it is fucking funny. So I highly recommend that one. Now, other ones I don't really recommend. They're just guilty pleasures of mine. But that one I highly recommend. It's called Clifford. No, it's not the big red dog. Clifford with Martin Short. And then closing out the list in the #1 spot, I think we got to go with Heavyweights. Now, this one's probably a bit more popular, just because it was made by Disney. It had better marketing. And, you know, nowadays, forget about it ever making this movie, because Disney would not be making a movie shaming fat kids, even though the fat kid's the hero. But, yeah, Heavyweights with Ben Stiller and a bunch of kids, and it's so goddamn funny. I mean, Tony Perkins is the funniest character ever live. It was so funny that he had to pretty much bring back the character in Dodgeball, because that's the same guy. Just the amount of lines. I'm feeling skinny, Tony. Lars is great. I mean, everything about it is great. You can watch that movie 100 times in a row and never get sick of it. It's like, that's the one where you're trapped on an island, you can only have one movie for the rest of your life. You know, what is it going to be? I'm probably picking Heavyweights. I think it's that good. I think it's that fucking good. So, there's my list. If you've seen any of them, like, subscribe. Even if you haven't seen them, like, subscribe. If you've seen any of them, let me know in the comments, and we can have a laugh together, maybe. You get cut off. Boop, 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 boop. But thanks for watching, folks. I gotta catch me a train.